Jai Sriman Narayan.
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 I pay my obeisances to my spiritual master, Srimad Jagat Guru Sudarshan Acharya Maharaj. I pay my obeisances to Lord Sri Ramanuj. I pay my obeisances to the Purva Acharyas. I pay my obeisances to the 12 Alvars. I pay my obeisances to Mother Lakshmi. And I pay my obeisances to Lord Sriman Narayan. I welcome all of you here presently at the Sri Narayan Dham to the 7th day of the celebrations of the month of the Ramanujans. I welcome those that's watching this discourse locally, nationally, and internationally. And I welcome in advance those that's going to be watching this discourse when it is posted in the various groups from around the world and in YouTube. For the past few days, I've been briefly describing the background of Sanatana Dharma in its eternal state. And I want to conclude today by giving an example or examples to the statement that I made that the Vedas are an authority in itself. So unlike religion, where there are instructions given to behave in a particular manner, or else there will be severe punishment, and these instructions are material in the nature. However, the Vedas, being the essence of Lord Sriman Narayan, means that it is spiritual. Spiritual means that it is eternally alive. I've also stated that the root of the Vedas is pranava. And pranava means word power. And power means something that is existing and there is energy emanating from that power. I've also stated pranava also infuses life force in living entities. So pranava is a life force with energy, disseminating energy. And the Vedas is energy in action. And therefore, it can exist without a sub-agent. In religion, when preachers stop preaching a particular religion, that religion will die. There will be death of that religious system. And you will note that there were many religious systems in history that are now dead because it needed a sub-agent to keep it alive. And when the sub-agents stopped preaching that particular religion, or culture or way of life, then that system dies. You will also note that for the past 1,000 years in India, Bharat, first the Mughals had captured India and they destroyed the material on which the Vedas was printed or transcribed. And then for the next 300 years, the British also destroyed the material on which the Vedas were transcribed or written. Notwithstanding that 1,000 years in the history of Bharat in which the Vedas emanated from, the Vedas are still alive and kicking around the world. And the reason it is still alive and kicking is because the Vedas are eternal, they are spiritual, and they do not need a sub-agent to keep it alive, like religion per se. I'm going to explain further, and I'm going to use examples. The most information, the most single institution of information that can be found in the material universe is called the internet. And if somebody wants information regarding any subject matter, that information can be found on Google currently today. Google is a storehouse of material information that exists in our current era. They are continuously updated. Google itself has a program behind it, and that program continues to provide its users with information. For one to access information from Google, what do you need? Chris, what you need to go to internet? How you go to internet? Lisa, how you go internet?
Buy data first.
Yes, you have to. Your qualification is that you have to buy data. No data, no internet. So the information is there, all material information is there in internet already. If you qualify by putting data in your phone, then that is your qualification to connect to internet, and based on your data, you can access as much knowledge from Google as you wish. Similarly, the Vedas is a bank of data in its absolute state, with everything in it. This data, this bank of information is not updated as material information, because material information keeps on rejuvenating itself, whereas the Vedas is absolute, eternal and spiritual. And for something that is eternal and spiritual, there is no need to update. So material knowledge exists for a certain amount of time, and then it loses its significance and it is updated in growth. In the Vedas, this information is absolute, and when something is absolute, it is fixed. The Vedas is fixed knowledge. For a human to obtain knowledge from the Vedas, the qualifications are that one must surrender to a bona fide spiritual master and cleanse one's behavior and habits. The removal of lust, anger, greed, prejudice, illusion, and envy from one's character will provide proportionate data, spiritual data, to connect to the spiritual bank or the spiritual internet called the Vedas. So the Vedas is a program. The Vedas is like a computer program. There are various computer games that exist today, and for each computer game, in the background, there is a prescribed and genuine program, and that prescribed program gives life to the computer game that one plays timelessly. Similarly, in the game of creation, of the material universes, the Vedas are programmed, and the game of creation gains its origin from the programmed Vedas, and life in these material universes have a start point and an end point. When the program ends, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sriman Narayan, starts the program of creation again. And when that program of creation ends, the Supreme Personality of Godhead starts the program again. And when that program of creation ends, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sriman Narayan, starts the creation or the program from creation again. I've repeated this a few times to emphasize that the program of creation of the universes is always the same. Is always the same. In creation we have 4 seasons or yugas. Satyug, 100% devotion. Treta Yuga, 75% devotion. Dwapara Yuga, 50% devotion. And Kali Yuga, 25% devotion. All that happens in this cycle in the first Satyug, the same things happen in the second Satyug, the third Satyug, and the trillionth Satyug. The program of Satyug will always be the same. All the incarnations that take place in Satyug, the same incarnations will take place in Satyug again. All the incarnations that take place in Treta Yuga, Lord Ram appears in Treta Yuga. He will appear in every Treta Yuga. His Devis and Devtas who assist him in Treta Yuga, Hanuman Baba and the rest, Ravana, all these people will appear exactly in every Treta Yuga. The Mahabharata will happen in Dwapara Yuga, and all the living entities involved in the Mahabharata will happen in every Dwapara Yuga exactly the same. And the incarnations that happen in Kali Yuga, in every Kali Yuga, Kalki will incarnate at the end of Kali Yuga and usher in Satyuga. Because the program is the same, the Vedas is eternal, it has to be the same. Because it is eternal, spiritual and transcendental, it's a spiritual, eternal and transcendental program. It has to be the same. The reason I'm stating all these perspectives of the Vedas is to show you that if the Vedas is absolute and accurate every time, then there can only be one philosophy in the Vedas. There can be only one absolute truth that is contained within the Vedas. So we have to look at these words and we have to understand these words. Eternal. Eternal means existing in the same form or format continuously. So when the Vedas formatted as the essence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is prescribed, that format is eternal, it is beginningless. It exists in that form all the time, since time immemorial. And when God enters the material atmosphere, He Himself, notwithstanding the fact that the Vedas is His very essence, He abides within the parameters of the Vedas. And one can note that when Lord Sriman Narayan incarnated as Lord Ram, which is depicted accurately in Valmiki's Ramayana, notwithstanding being the Lord himself. Lord Ram got into character and played all the parts that was required of him without changing any dynamic. He acted the part of suffering, he acted the part of separation, he acted the part of fighting, he acted the part of a father, he acted the part of a king. In between all these parts that he enacted, there were myriads of obstacles. And him being the Supreme Lord, he could have eradicated all these myriads of obstacles in a wink. He did not alter the Vedas to suit his perfection. He became imperfect to suit the Vedas. The Lord's character became imperfect so that he could suit the various injunctions of the Vedas. The Lord did not change the Vedas to suit his perfection. And if the Lord, who is the essence of the Vedas, did not change one word of the Vedas, did not interpret the Vedas in any form or way, then no saint or sage has the capacity to either change any aspect of the Vedas or interpret the Vedas to suit a particular need of a particular time in a particular place. The Vedas has to remain in its eternal state so that the program of creation is not interfered with. And in the program of creation, there is Satyug, Treta Yug, Dwapara Yug, and Kali Yug. If you change the dynamics of any parts of the Vedas, then it will interfere with this absolute program. And this absolute program cannot be interfered with. The only dynamic you can change is yourself. You can change yourself from being in a mode of ignorance, total ignorance, or from a mode of passion and activity to a mode of sattvic, where you lose your ignorance, you lose your greed, you lose your attachments, and you can attach yourself to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is the only capacity you have. You cannot change the Vedas. No one can change the Vedas, but you can change yourself to suit the end portion of the Vedas, through Vedanta, become a devotee of the Supreme Lord and have a face-to-face relationship and servitorship with the Supreme Lord. That is the only change you can make in your life. And that is the only change a saint or sage has capacity to make on humanity itself, but not on the blueprint of the universe. Because the Vedas is the blueprint of the universe. So I'm going to sum up that the Vedas are eternal. No one has authority to interpret or change even one word, comma, or full stop of the Vedas. And the Lord has shown this timelessly by incarnating Himself and living within the prescripts of the Vedas itself. However, one can change one's own self. God has given you capacity to change yourself. And through His blessings and the grace of a Guru, you can change comfortably from the material dimension to the spiritual dimension. Jai Sriman Narayan.